Where are you going?
Do you want to fill in for Steve today, Mitt? I'm not sure where he is. You need a special invitation today? I don't know if I like the sound of this. I can kind of hear the wind whistling through that door. What do you think, T-Rex? 33? That can't be right. All right, let's go. Let's go out the door. 33 can't be right because it's only 23 at Logan Airport right now. Not that far away from Logan. Ice bucket challenge. It is solid. We had another coldest so far reading. First, last night on top of Mount Washington with a wind gust to 94 miles an hour. We got to 9 below zero on Mount Washington. Coldest so far this season, beating -7. All right, come on, Steve. You come on, Steve. And look at him go. The birds are all out. This morning the sun is up. We try and hide from the wind behind the Alberta spruce. Cold air advection. Very dry air up in the sky. Nice blue sky. A new cold high pressure system is moving off to our southwest. When that happens, we usually warm up. Not too warm today, though. In Boston, 20 this morning was the coldest so far this season. It's a little bit of ice on the rocks. First time we've had ice on the rocks right there. And all eyes now on what's happening across the middle of the nation. Low pressure strung out from the Canadian border near Montana down to Texas, where we have cyclogenesis on the north side of the Gulf of Mexico, and it's snowing this morning in Arkansas. Thank you, Jay, for sharing. Big fat flakes, he says, in Arkansas. So yeah, it's gonna snow maybe as much in my backyard as it is in Arkansas and Kansas right now. It's a really tough call. You saw my thermometer there, it said 33. That water right there is about 43 degrees out into the Atlantic Ocean. So this little bay may be having an influence on the temperature. But by the feel of my hands, I think that thermometer was kind of wrong. It's not in the sun or anything. Anyhow, with the water temperature out there in the 40s, and even though there's a new cold front coming, we are going to have a really difficult time with the rain-snow line. Those rain-snow lines are almost impossible. Thinking back to December 5th, 1992, I thought it was going to be a rainstorm in Boston. I woke up, there was 5 inches of snow. So I've seen it happen so many times where you just don't know. Otherwise, I still think it's kind of a straightforward forecast. Let's go to these static maps here and look at tomorrow. You see that cold front, the blue line right in New England, that's pushing south. And then by Sunday morning, as that low comes up the East Coast, can you make out the cold front there over New Jersey? So there's colder air, as we've been talking about, being infused to the north side of this storm. But is it cold enough to overcome 43-degree water for a snowstorm in Boston? I've seen all kinds of different accumulation maps, and obviously mine has been on the high side. Most of the National Weather Service and the TV Mets are going for 0 to 2 around Boston. I'll take the over on that. I've been waiting all morning for the new NAM foos to come in. What's a foos? All those numbers are a foos. I don't even remember what it stands for, but it's basically the cliff notes for the forecast for the next 60 hours for many stations, and I can decipher that really quickly, but it wasn't updating. But anyhow, most recent NAM has mostly snow. So why don't we just cut to the chase. Cold and dry today, increasing clouds tonight, tomorrow. It's going to be freezing tomorrow morning, and then snow is going to develop at about sunset near New York City. Snow and rain. Green is rain, blue is snow. And look at that rain-snow line right along the coast there in Connecticut and Rhode Island. Then it kind of eases a little bit in Connecticut and Rhode Island in the morning. Oh, T-Rex is just sitting there. He wants to go back in. All right, wait a second. And we're back. That sunshine certainly feels good. So I'm going to try and stand here over top of Steve and pick that back up. Okay, so now we're getting up to sunrise on Sunday, and you can see a little lull there in Rhode Island and Connecticut. A little
less cold air there. Plus, it's not one single low pressure system. You got multiple low centers there consolidating into one low there south of Cape Cod. And you can see the snow filling back in, blue as snow, with bands of snow. Those things are going to be pulsing bands of snow. And some of those bands may try and generate 2-inch per hour snowfall for a short time in certain spots. And predicting those is the hardest part. What happens is that relatively warm air with wind. Let's look at the wind forecast here. That red, that's sustained over 30 knots, that red there. And it's quite a long duration event. Anyhow, that relatively warm wind coming in off the ocean from first the east, then the northeast, then the north. That's when it changes to snow along the coast. It's going to be gusting 35 to 40 miles an hour. So you got that real powerful wind coming in from that direction and then running into the colder air that's on the other side of Boston. That cold air is very heavy and it acts like a wall, and the wind has to hit that wall and go up and over it. The lighter, less dense, warm air going over the more dense air that's over inland areas, and that cold air is really heavy. It doesn't move as much, so it's not going to be as windy inland. Anyhow, that dynamic of the air going over itself, warmer air over colder air, is going to produce those snow bands with the really intense snowfall rates. And I think that our highways are nicely aligned. I-95 in the Newton area probably ends up with a good snow band. You get another one out there around I-90 and I-91 around the Pioneer Valley when you have that air coming out of the Pioneer Valley and up into the Berkshires. So if you look at the NAM snowfall amounts, purple is like a foot of snow. And it's obviously way overdone in the Boston to Cape Cod area, where it's going to be 0 to 6 in about a 6-mile gradient. Anyhow, I think that we're going to have to take that lean cold rule and move it to the west and to the north a bit. So areas that are forecast to get 5 to 10 inches of snow in the blue there, I think those are the areas that end up with 10 to 12 inches of snow. Oh, the lean cold rule, what that means is the warmer air near the ocean holds the most moisture. And when you take that warm, moist air and ride it into that cold air, instead of having, say, a 10 to 1 ratio of snow, you get a 15 to 1 ratio. So with less liquid, you can wring out more, deeper, fatter snowflakes. And that's why I think the heaviest snow is going to end up at our tallest mountains in Massachusetts, the Berkshires, Wachusett, Crotched, and into Sunday River. I think these areas may get a foot of snow. After all, this is about a 20-hour event, 18 to 20 hour, and even if you average at a half inch per hour, that gets you to about 10 to 12 inches. And I still think that a lot of spots are going to end up with 13 inches because it is such a long duration event. Will it be enough to bury Steve? Well, if Steve stays down really low like that and I get some drifting, maybe we'll get a Steve worth of snow at this level here in the Weymouth, Quincy area. Right down the road is Blue Hill. Blue Hill could end up with a foot of snow, and while my house only has 2 or 3 inches. But guess what? The worst impact is going to be where there's 2 or 3 inches, because there's going to be a liquid equivalent of about an inch of water in there, and it's going to refreeze. The temperature is going to go from the low to mid 30s during the morning into the mid 20s in the afternoon, and anything that's slush is going to refreeze really quickly. So you got to have your ice melt prepared. And then Monday morning, we'll probably have the coldest so far again, with a temperature in the teens to near 20 in Boston. We haven't gone down below 20 yet. And that's going to last into Tuesday morning. And then a massive storm is coming up the Mississippi River Valley. And even though new cold is coming in on the backside of our storm, the low pressure system that's going up into the Great Lakes looks like it wants to deepen. 964, come on, it couldn't get that deep, could it? Euro overdoes these low pressures, but when you have such a strong storm going in the Midwest, even though our cold is going to put up a fight, it's going to end up turning warmer here, and it is going to rain maybe to the Canadian border briefly on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning before cold west wind comes back, some upslope snow. That has potential, this Wednesday system, Tuesday night into Wednesday, for 1 to 3 inches of rain from about Portland, Maine to New York City with a temperature near 50. So a rapid meltdown, and we'll have some possible flooding, and I think the mountains of Maine and northern Vermont aren't going to take a huge hit on their snow, but it is going to get rained on before a refreeze and the snow guns come right back on. And the pattern is just loaded. So many storms coming in off the Pacific, coast to coast, with the talk of the polar vortex coming into the northwestern United States like late next week and all of Canada. And here in the east, these storms are going to run, and they're going to have rain snow lines very close to us for the next 10 days. Maybe we'll get on the colder side of that whole system and new cold regime the second half of January. But for now, it looks like we're going to have this mix to deal with just about every storm. And right along that mix line, that's where your worst weather is going to be. All right, another 24 hours to hem and haw over this. You know, these storms take so long to arrive, and then we'll do the play-by-play on Sunday. Still thinking that there's a chance of some blizzard conditions, maybe Faxon Park and Quincy, if this thing overachieves in the snow department. Yesterday, let's see what we do for the Enmore. Chased a sunset, and the cold front came through. Boy, was that something. And then watching the Bruins game last night. The Bruins were up, then they were down, then they were up, and then they were down. It was exciting as watching the temperature on Mount Washington go from 11 at lunchtime yesterday to 9 below zero at 9 o'clock. Quite active in the weather and sports department. And that's going to be our Enmore. And my fingers are totally frozen. And Steve looks fine. I think when we go in the door, we have another Maine Coon. You want to see the other Maine Coon? Just because I think people are coming here for the animals as much as they are for the people. Oh, T-Rex, you like that blanket? That feels good, huh? You should be happy you're not outside, man. It's freezing. Thanks for warming up my fingers. All right, talk to you tomorrow. All right, one more thing. I just saw Steve chasing leaves. That was pretty funny. He was running and jumping on the leaves. There he goes. And this boat just came out and changed its mind. That's that Bluefin robotics boat. Oh, we forgot the yellow submarine. Who didn't put the submarine on the boat? We're going back to get it. Don't see that very often. Steve chasing the leaves. Cool. All right. No, cold. Very cold. To the Enmore. 3:30. Here comes the cold front on our Thursday afternoon, January 4th. Cold air advection commencing. A few snowflakes trying to come out of the cloud over there. There have been some reports of some grapple bouncing around. It's 43 degrees right here, but on Mount Washington, it's 1 below zero. Down 11 degrees in the last 3 hours. Cold front number 1 before the weekend storm. Cold front number 2 comes in tomorrow night and Saturday. I didn't have time to grab T-Rex. It was all happening so fast. Gorgeous sunset in progress here. Now a few minutes later than last week. I don't know, I think we might have gained about 10 minutes of sunlight at the end of the day as the latest sunrises occur. The sunset is at least getting later. Gorgeous cold air advection. Even though that looks really hot, doesn't it? How about a time lapse of today? I'll let this roll. Play the time lapse. Get out of the street, Tim. That's from warm air advection to cold air advection. This is called FROPA, frontal passage. Cold FROPA. There's going to be another cold FROPA ahead of the Saturday night storm, which is getting more and more juicy by the day, by the looks of things. Still sticking with 13 inches, though, if you live on the snowiest part of it. Over now.